Things are never slow or boring when it comes to Donald J. Trump. Over the weekend, he hosted Putin. The mainstream media attacked him as if he had brought Hitler to the shores of America. Now, as we speak, Zelensky and the top leaders in Europe are all gathered together. And Hillary Clinton says, if Trump can pull this off, I will give him the Nobel Prize nomination. I want to go through this and much, much more with my special guest, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. Jovan, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, you cover the news like I do over on your show. It is never a dull moment with President Trump, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. He's playing a very dangerous game, but I think he's playing it very well. And for a man who has so many enemies surrounding him, wanting to mess him up, foil him, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, this is like a master class in brinksmanship. He is taking everything to the brink, whether it's Iran, whether it's China, whether it's Zelensky or Putin or whatever. We'll just continue to pray that things continue to go his way. I want to jump in on this. President Trump and the White House arrange a historic meeting with Vladimir Putin of Russia in Alaska. They hammer out a path forward. Now, as we record this, Zelensky and other top European leaders are at the White House. I don't know whether they want to go forward, whether they're really looking for peace, because they say they want peace, then they bomb Russia. But the mainstream media and many of the most well-known Democrats are saying Trump looked weak, that this war needs to continue, that Trump allowed the modern-day Hitler onto American soil. What do you think about all of this?
Well, if we go back and look at all of it, you talked about going to the brink. I think President Trump has no choice but to go to the brink because he can't talk about what he really wants to do. He has to keep them guessing. So even with the GOP, he's got to play it like he sees it right at the end. Next, I think that Zelensky launched his most significant drone strike in history the night before Putin met with President Trump. I think that says a lot. Then, of course, Mike Pence, Trader Pence, ran around doing interviews saying that President Trump, I hope he gets something, but I hope that Trump gets with Thune and signs this new bill so we can keep the Ukraine safe. Now, the way it is with both deep state and or the left, if President Trump got out and walked on water, the news story would be, look, we have proof President Trump can't swim. That's how they're going to do it. I think the party wants war. I think the party needs that war to keep the money laundering going. And honestly, as weird as it sounds, I don't think on this one, Putin is on the opposite side of us. He wants to be left alone. He wants to take care of his country. Remember, he's the one that told us when he went into Ukraine, he was destroying bioweapons labs, which they all said was fake news that we now know is right. Again, it's deep state GOP uniparty trying to do anything they can to keep this country at war and get more money out of the system.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the money. My next point was going to be there's several reports that at a minimum, 50 members of Congress are heavily invested in the military-industrial complex. Their stock portfolio only goes up if America continues to bomb other places or support proxy war. And so President Trump, people credit him with 5D chess all the time. This is at least 3 deep chess, right? Where he brings Putin over. He knows what he's doing. He is trying to get this war ended by trade deals. He's trying to peel Russia away from China. China is doing way more to undermine America than Russia. And he's trying to help NATO end this war. He's giving them an off-ramp, which they don't want. They want to continue to keep this going. But you have the mainstream media saying things like, he's allowed the modern-day Hitler onto our soil. Well, last I checked, we only beat Hitler because of Russia. So why is this? Do we just continue to make Russia the boogeyman so that they can continue to launder money?
I think throughout all of our history, we've been fed a line and we think the government's keeping us safe. Can you remember as a small kid crawling under your little bitty desk thinking that was going to protect from a nuke strike? Come on. They feed us a line. I think they learned that when it comes to wars, they can appropriate more money. And once they got hooked on the money, there was no turning back, and there's all kinds of payola going on. Therefore, they're going to call names. Why? Because it works. They're going to say he's Hitler. Why do they do that? Because it works. And they've defined what Nazi is, what fascism is, and what Hitler is, because they're brainwashing young kids. None of this is going to fix itself with the current people in house. In many ways, I think President Trump is not as alone as he was during the first term, but whether it's 3D chess or 5D chess, it's CDS, common damn sense. And that's what a businessman brings to the table. He knows how to negotiate it, and he knows how to stand his ground. One thing I know about President Trump, if you're not willing to lose the deal, you can never make the deal. And that's why he's willing to go to the wall. And look, they give us bad guys. We always thought George Soros was the Satan destroying everything, right? Then we find out that hundreds of millions of dollars was given from USAID to George Soros to do what he was doing. They're going to always give us bad guys to hate. And so this system has trained America. We're going to tell you who the bad guy is. You freak out and don't worry. We're going to protect you. It's all vapor. It's all crap. It's all designed to steal more money.
All right. Wow. I love what you said there. Like, we need more CDS, common damn sense, and less TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. If we can get this to happen, but you've got the media constantly poking the bear, trying to tell their audience that, well, you know, he did invite the modern day Hitler, but remember, he's also Hitler. He is a terrible, awful human being. I want to show you and my audience just how the mainstream media tries to treat Trump and his White House cabinet. But we've got Marco Rubio pushing back like nobody else. Let's go ahead and react to this together.
You know, there is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Can you?
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not why. That's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming.
That February Oval Office
they're coming here tomorrow
in front of television cameras where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings we've had since then?
Oh, no, I know. And I was just up in Alaska watching the one with Vladimir Putin where a red carpet rolled out.
No, but it was Zelensky. We've had more meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. So but that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
And they said President Trump was going to demand a ceasefire
as early as Thursday. But you said that they're coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming here tomorrow. Oh, this is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
But the president told those European leaders last week that he wanted a ceasefire. The president went on television, said he would walk out of the meeting if Vladimir Putin didn't agree with one. He said there would be severe consequences if he didn't agree to one. He said he'd walk out in 2 minutes. He spent 3 hours talking to Vladimir Putin, and he did not get one. So there's
because obviously things happened during that meeting. Well, because obviously look, our goal here is not to stage some production for the world to say, oh, how dramatic, he walked out. Our goal here is to have a peace agreement to end this war, okay? And obviously we felt, and I agreed, that there was enough progress, not a lot of progress, but enough progress made in those talks to allow us to move to the next phase. If not, we wouldn't be having Zelensky flying all the way over here. We wouldn't be having all the Europeans coming all the way over here. Now understand and take with a grain of salt, I'm not saying we're on the verge of a peace deal, but I am saying that we saw movement, enough movement to justify a follow-up meeting with Zelensky and the Europeans, enough movement for us to dedicate even more time to this. You talk about the sanctions. Look, at the end of the day, if peace is not going to be possible here, and this is just going to continue on as a war, people will continue to die by the thousands. The president has that option to then come in and impose new sanctions. But if he did this now, the moment the president puts those additional sanctions, that's the end of the talks. You've basically locked in at least another year to year and a half of war and death and destruction. We may unfortunately wind up there, but we don't want to wind up there. We want to wind up with a peace deal that ends this war so Ukraine can go on with the rest of their lives and rebuild their country and be assured that this is never going to happen again. That's the goal here. We're going to do everything possible to make that happen if it's doable. It will require both sides to make concessions. It will require both sides to get things they're asking for. That's how these deals are made, whether we like it or not.
Trump's just going to bully him. No, I think Trump is trying to be the strong leader, right? The Winston Churchill that gets this thing done and over with.
Right.
Every week that gets delayed, thousands of people die. Hundreds of millions of dollars are wasted. And from my perspective, it's mostly Zelensky and the Europeans that don't want to end this. I think Trump should just cut off the money, be done with it. See how much they can do without U.S. taxpayer dollars. Your thoughts on the way he was treated there?
Well, number one, it's funny that the left needs to come to the rescue of a leader of a country. If he could be bullied by default, he shouldn't be the leader of a country. He wouldn't be there. So we have to say he's his own man for his country. This is a battle between not the United States or Russia or the Ukraine like you think. It's the battle between the front of the check and the back of the check. Now, if you look at it that way, you know what's going on. Zelensky is the back of the check. That means we send money, he signs the back of the check to endorse it and deposit it and spends it. That means his motivation, just like people stealing from the system, Social Security, when they sign the back of the check, is just to keep the checks coming. Now, let's look at Putin. Putin's the front of the check. He has to pay to have his armies there. We don't pay for it. Other countries aren't supporting Putin, funding it, so he's out of pocket. He's the front of the check. What side are we on? Well, it's not our war, but we're also the front of the check. So you have the two people that get hit the most of what this costs, that bear this cost, that sit down. Trump did the right thing to find out if it's even possible to get to peace. You don't expect to do that in 2 minutes, and you certainly don't arm wrestle for it. He went through it in detail to find out as front of the check to front of the check, what will it take? And now, yes, you got the crybaby over who only wants to keep the checks coming to sign the back of the check. And his intent is very simple. Keep the checks coming. And in order to keep the checks coming, he needs to stay at war. That's the difference in this system. And that's why you saw Putin and Trump meeting. They're trying to get it resolved.
Such a great example. Front of the check, back of the check. I love that. That's how a lot of the American people feel, is like, wait a minute, it's our money behind the front of the check. And then you guys keep just receiving the money, but not ending the war. And Putin's like, hey, we're ready to meet. We're ready to meet. And then it comes out. I've covered this. I'm sure you've covered it. Biden didn't even speak with Russia for over 3 years. Putin's like, who are we supposed to negotiate with? The front of the check won't even get on the phone with us.
That's right.
So President Trump, from the first week, starts working with Putin to end this war, and now he's the bad guy. He hosts him in Alaska. Now he's the bad guy. Like, why does no one want to end this war? It all comes down to power and money.
They need plausible deniability. The way the Biden administration got plausible deniability, we want Russia to stop. We want Russia to stop bombing. But did they really? No, they never talked to them. They didn't invite them in. They didn't try to negotiate out or whatever. They just wanted the money from Congress. And so it's all smoke and mirrors. And so they play this game to where it made like Putin didn't care. That's not true. In fact, he was ghosted since 2022. Part of what they're upset about is that Putin gets to meet with President Trump one-on-one in basically a neutral territory, Alaska, and have it out leader to leader. They know if Trump sits down with Putin, it validates Putin even more. They know that. Remember when Zelensky came here and he acted like a child and did what he did? That's the theatrics they want. So they can't have real leaders getting together. Why? Because it will get solved. If it gets solved, the checks stop coming.
All right. Let me show you over on the news how they were talking about how this isn't going to end, and then we will react to it together.
And by the way, let's underline two things here. Just again, to set expectations, to be realistic. even during the Biden administration, every Biden official, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, says they're going to have to give a plan. They're not going to like giving a plan, but they're going to have to give a plan, number one. Number two, they're not going to become members of NATO. There may have been people writing articles in the Wall Street Journal or elsewhere saying they have to be members of NATO, but you go around to every European leader, that was never going to happen. But there was an idea of a quasi-NATO type guarantee, and they need that guarantee. And if they get that guarantee, if they have the guarantee that Putin's not going to reload and then come back in, that would be considered, I think, at the end, a win for Ukraine, would it not? By the way,
President Trump said so much over on Truth Social. He basically said, no more money. If you want our weapons, you can pay full price for them out of NATO's money. And you're going to have to give up land in order to get this done. And you're not joining NATO. And then they say that he's this wicked, awful guy. And now you've got Morning Joe defending Donald J. Trump, saying even the Biden administration, the top levels of government said, this is exactly what's going to have to happen. But when it was Joe Biden, it was okay. But when it's Donald Trump, it's an evil idea.
Well, what was going on is, he's right. Ukraine was never going to be part of NATO. However, the system wanted to validate the Ukraine by getting them that seat on NATO. It's just like voting. Remember when the United Nations vote on it? They want that in there, and they wanted that in there to rub Putin in the face with it. Never going to happen. And you're right. This system, what they try to do is extort and get what they can extort. Now, the media is, in many ways, some of them are calling it like it is, and that's refreshing. But isn't it sad that we can never really tell what's really going on? And so here's what I fall back on. Remember, Donald Trump is not a politician. Donald Trump is more akin to us. We might not be multi-billionaires, but we're taxpayers, and he does business. He's here to do business. Now, right now, he's not going to serve another term. He doesn't have a lot to lose. He's got to go out winning. It's the system that's panicking. Now, I can also see Zelensky wanting to be treated like a big man on campus. He probably wanted NATO. He probably wanted that prestige because he's only a play actor to begin with. I think that's the system negotiating for him. I think you're going to find the more President Trump stands his ground, and it's not a game with President Trump. He is totally fine with walking away. He will get up and he will walk out, and he won't turn back. These countries need to understand it. These European countries understand it, and they're all trying to play a globalist game. They're moving around Zelensky just to see how far they can push Trump and try to understand how much control our uniparty really has over the man. I don't think he's going to let it happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, let me switch gears with you. I appreciate your commentary on all of that. You are big on cleaning up election fraud. You uncovered tons of fraud in Arizona and other places, mail-in ballots, ballot printing, markers being used, fake ballots. Now we found out China was flooding our country with fake ballots pre-filled for Joe Biden. We're finding all these fake IDs. Putin casually mentions to President Trump in Alaska, if you investigate mail-in ballots, you'll find that your election was stolen. Let's talk about that.
We absolutely need a change in our elections. I think President Trump is now leaning the appropriate way to get it done. Like I've always said, it's people, paper, and programs. It is not the machines. Now he is going to focus on the paper. I find it very interesting that Putin said, hey, Mr. President, you should probably check in your mail-in ballots. They know what's going on. When you have a leader of another country tell you, look at your mail-in ballots, that's where your problem is, they know what's going on. Now, President Trump said, try to get rid of the machines. We're going to go one-day voting and we're going to go to paper. But he mentioned watermarks. And that drives me crazy. Let me tell you why it drives it crazy. It was introduced in Maricopa County, Arizona, when we were doing the audit. I find it funny that those lawmakers get anywhere from 25 cents to 10 cents a ballot as a commission for getting states or elections to use the watermark ballots. Now, if you remember the Arizona audit, all of that recounting that went on with all the people on the floor, that was just to recount the presidential oval and the senator oval. That's it. We got mere seconds with the paper. That's why my work's on forensics. I got to have a digital copy to do it. So let me ask you a question. If they put a watermark in the paper, who's going to look for it? Who's going to verify it? How is it going to be verified? Yeah, they might pop a light like you're going to a club with a stamp on your hand. And if it blooms, they're going to say it's great. I would love to see the right mechanisms put in place. I would love to see the right people around the president stop butting into, because there's other ways to do it, and we can do it right with the paper. But if we're going to have watermarks in the ballot, we have to be able to get a hold of the paper and check them properly. And that's the one thing that all the states always withhold is the paper, because they know the crime is in the paper. But I do hope it happens.
Okay. Let me pull this up because this went out. Trump to sign an executive order eliminating mail-in ballots and voting machines before the 2020 midterm election. He then says, I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines. I won't read the whole thing, but basically he's saying, you know, if we don't have free and fair elections, we don't really have a country. Just like if you never have a border, you don't really have one. He says the mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. Do you think, based on your reputation with Maricopa and testifying around the country, do you think you'll be called in to consult on how to improve the election system?
Well, I sat down with President Trump basically in a one-on-one for 96 minutes. Got called in by him, sat down with him, already been through it once. The problem is not President Trump. The problem is people around Trump. The problem of a lot of very vocal people saying, no, just get rid of the machines or hand counting. Well, you can still hand count a bad ballot dropped in a ballot box. I do think that is in the works. There's many things I cannot talk about, but you must understand. If you don't understand how the system does it to us, you can't fix it. I think watermarks in the ballots are just a pacification. You got to get down to it and do it right. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Can we do this in one day? It can be done in one day. As long as we keep track of the paper. How many did you print? How many did you put out? Where are all the extras? That's fine. But I'll tell you what, let's look at California. One very large county in California, 770,000 voters, I think. And one election midterm had 110,000 blank ballots run into the machine. Why would you run in blank ballots? Why? You get a little marker on that said it was there, and then they go back in and use their ballots later. As long as it's tightly controlled, as long as it's not who's the most popular or who made the best donation, and we get true experts to look at it that have expertise in this, like I can throw my hat in the ring. I personally looked at over 2 million ballots, 189 million voted ovals. I'm the only person in American history to do it. If we can get around that inner circle, that they can stop sending him another direction or undermining him, yes, I think we'll get this solved. And we need to get it solved toot sweet, because they're going to clobber us in the midterms if we don't.
Okay. I saw this just as I was preparing with you this morning. You have City Council member Abu Musa up in Michigan. He's on camera 2 different times dropping off mail-in.
New video obtained by Local 4 shows 2 men in a black.
Okay, so he's caught twice on camera dropping off dozens and dozens of ballots. This guy only won his election by like 70 votes.
Right.
And twice he shows up with handfuls of ballots. So I'm hoping that President Trump will reach out to you. I'm hoping that we will get this whole situation figured out, because one of the things that Vladimir Putin said to President Trump up in Alaska was, you're one of the only countries left that does mail-in ballots. The rest of us learned that you could cheat. And so
or has
I know,
drop boxes.
yeah, and I know that President Trump knows this stuff, but like you said, it's the people around him that are going to be difficult.
Here's the unique catch.
Okay.
President Trump can sign an executive order, but his power only extends to federal elections. We have 50 different states that have individual voting, and they get to set the rules. It's going to be a battle, you better believe it. But if he sticks to his guns, if he keeps from being smothered by pillows and everything else, now let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and we really work on fixing it, and it comes down to expertise, we can get this fixed. There's over 100 ways to do it. We don't even have to write new laws. We just write better contracts. It can be done. But if we don't do it, we're going to lose the midterms. We lose the midterms, they're going to have the House. They're going to bring impeachment back. They are going to impeach President Trump. And this time it's going to be with the emoluments clause about taking favors and things. And don't forget, he just took a big jumbo jet. I smell a setup on the horizon. So we better take this seriously and do it right. And it's not a popularity contest. It's get this crap fixed contest.
Don't you think Democrats have more incentive to cheat in the 2026 and make Trump lame duck or impeached than they did even in 2024 when he was running for president?
They do, but it's not only the Democrats, it's Democrats and GOP. They all know that the illegal purse strings, all the money they've been sucking from the system, it's gone and it's going to stay gone. They all know their favorite little back doors like NPR, USAID, and all this stuff. They know it's gone. You are going to see a bigger pylon, a more sophisticated pylon than you've ever seen before. Because if they don't get the midterms, meaning the Democrats, and President Trump gets to fully execute and does this, I don't think any Democrat will ever get in power again. It's over and they know it.
Yeah, which is why they're going to do, like you said, they're going to pile on like never before. This is one of my worries. This is Roger Stone. He gave a speech over the weekend. Lot of really good information. I've cut out just one short clip. Let's watch it and then we'll react to it together, because I share the same worry with Roger.
Our problem are not the screwball leftist Marxist Democrats. Our problem, in a nutshell, are the gutless, feckless, weak-kneed, lily-livered, white wine swilling, country club belonging, establishment Republicans who have neither the guts nor the balls to fight for America.
Okay, so he says the biggest problem now is the rhinos, the minos, the ballless, gutless Republicans that aren't supporting Trump. This is what we voted for. Do you share this same concern?
100%. I love Roger. Roger's bang on. This dialogue is had behind closed doors quite a bit. Everything was discovered in the 2021 full forensic audit in Arizona. Every way they did it. The only reason you didn't hear about it, the only reason nothing changed was not because of the Democrats. It was specifically because of the GOP and the rhinos. And yes, if we don't clean those guys up, they're going to make sure the system that put us here, the system that enriches them and turns us into slave battery unit, stays. Rogers, bang on.
Yeah. Okay, final thing. You and I have talked about this, but there is a part of me that believes that in the 2024 election, they let Trump have that, and then they cheated in the down ballot. Everywhere that took longer than a day to count, the majority of those went to Democrats.
Yes.
And so my worry is he's not on the ballot in 2026. It's a whole bunch of, districts and Senate seats. And so my worry is he's not going to be paying attention enough, or he won't have authority to really do anything. And they are going to cheat in those down ballots because the power really is in Congress. If they can bind him up, impeach him, make him a lame duck president. Do you share that same worry?
I have a very serious worry. And speaking of the rhinos and GOP, for the cons going on right now, you have other newscasters or journalists telling you 30 top-notch special digital guys made sure that President Trump won in 2024. They had it all. They stopped the steal. Total crap. Let me tell you why. If he had 30 experts looking at it, seeing the votes come in, seeing some nefarious rat bastards changing the votes, intercepting it and changing it back, that's called proof. Where's the proof? We don't have any of that proof. Second is, okay, even if you did it and President Trump won, what happened to the damn down ticket? They kept on counting in some places over 60 days. So nobody injected anything. Nobody stopped the steal. No 30 unnamed experts stopped it. That's a con job to make you feel that everything's okay and everything is not okay. And yes, I truly believe that Donald J. Trump probably is in because they allowed them to be in, because what I see is they focused on the down ticket. They needed the down ticket because they need what they're going to do in the midterms. And so all they did was a pump and dump, let them have it. Everybody will think it's fine. Everybody, hooray, hooray. No, folks, we're in big trouble in big ways.
Okay. Wow, wow, wow. All right. Jovan, thank you for your time. I know you do a lot of research. You've got this 96-minute meeting with President Trump. You've got the Arizona. You're a wealth of knowledge. If people want to catch your show, how do they do that?
Find me on Rumble, rumble.com/Jovan Hutton, Hutton, Pulitzer like the prize. I'm more like the free parting gift, but I will always tell you the truth and transparency. Here's what I've learned. Be a politician, lie to people, get clicks. You're going to have a lot of fans. Tell people the hard truth. They're many times going to get pissed off and not like you. But if you want truth and transparency, not only will I tell you like it is, I'll tell you how we can fix it, because your job is to tell those rat bastards what they need to do. And you can't get them to stop if you don't know how they do it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Education, solutions. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from a CEO. He said, don't come to me with the problem. Come to me with the problem and a couple of ideas to solve the problem. Otherwise, you just leave the problem in my lap, and right. I don't know what to do with it. So I appreciate the way that you do that. I'm going to put those direct links to Rumble as well as X so that people can find you. We'll have you on again in the future. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being a champion for what's right and for America. I greatly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.